On August 7, 2020, Jerry Odom of Milton, Florida, violently murdered his girlfriend, Vickie Edge, by hitting her in the head multiple times with a baseball bat before strangling her. The murder occurred after Jerry had promised Vickie a wedding, going as far as giving her a check for $15,000 despite being financially unstable. This financial desperation led Jerry to believe that murder was his only way out. Jerry told Vickie he had a surprise for her, so she covered her head with a blanket and then he beat her with a bat. The day before she was murdered, Vickie told her family that she was going to see Jerry. When they didn't hear from her for 2 days, they asked law enforcement to conduct a welfare check at Jerry's residence. Upon arrival, deputies discovered Vickie's deceased body on the living room floor. During the investigation, detectives uncovered surveillance video footage showing Jerry purchasing the murder weapon from Walmart a week before the crime. Neighbors revealed in interviews that they had interacted with Jerry on the day of the murder and he had acted totally normal, even casually checking on Vickie and saying that she's still sleeping. Jerry Odom was arrested and charged with first-degree premeditated murder. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On March 25, 2023, 28-year-old Khadijah Brown shot and killed her 28-year-old husband Jeremy Brown in their Lowndes County, Mississippi home while on Facebook Live. The couple were having a heated argument about Jeremy's supposed neglect of his family responsibilities, including housework and care for their 4 children. The argument had begun the night before the shooting and continued into that morning, so Khadijah decided to stream it on Facebook. To add further stress to the situation, Khadijah's mother had gone to their house that morning and was also confronting Jeremy. Jeremy was attempting to leave the apartment to defuse the escalating tension when a gun was fired. The livestream captured the sound of the gunshot and the ensuing chaos, with Khadijah and a child heard screaming and crying in the background. Responding to the 911 call, deputies found Jeremy dead from a single gunshot wound with a 9mm handgun and additional evidence collected at the scene. Khadijah was arrested without resistance, charged with murder, and held at the Lowndes County Adult Detention Center without bond. On August 22, 2023, an indictment was issued against Khadijah by a Mississippi grand jury. However, as of this date, a trial has not been scheduled. In April 2009, 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel of Rochester, New York, went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with some friends without her mother's permission and was kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered. On April 25th, while at the Bar Harbor Hotel, Brittanee left her friends around 8 p.m. and walked to the Blue Water Resort to visit another friend. While walking back to the Bar Harbor Hotel, she was texting her boyfriend, John Greco, back in Rochester. However, around 9:15 p.m., the text abruptly stopped. John became worried and reached out to Brittanee's mother, Dawn, revealing for the first time to her that Brittanee was in Myrtle Beach. The police initiated a search for Brittanee the following morning, but nothing turned up and the case went cold for years. Dawn relocated to Myrtle Beach to stay close to the ongoing investigation. In May 2022, Raymond Moody, a 62-year-old registered sex offender, turned himself in. He confessed to the crime and led law enforcement to the location of Brittanee's remains, which were later confirmed through DNA. On October 19, 2022, Raymond Moody pled guilty to the charges of murder, kidnapping, and first-degree criminal sexual misconduct. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On August 10, 2022, 40-year-old Silvia Abacay was brutally murdered in Falls Church, Virginia. She was visiting from Bolivia and staying at the apartment of her close friend Fatima Rojas. Fatima had been in an abusive 8-year relationship with a 48-year-old man named Richard Montano and had recently broken up with him. However, after the breakup, he tried to reconcile with her and kept showing up at her apartment uninvited. A neighbor's Ring doorbell camera captured Richard entering Fatima's apartment on several occasions when she wasn't home. One of the nights Silvia was staying over, Fatima was out running an errand and Richard decided to enter her apartment again. Thinking it was Fatima, he attacked Silvia and repeatedly stabbed and beat her until she was dead. In an effort to conceal the crime, he then set Silvia's body on fire. The fire was so intense and left Silvia's body so severely burned that the medical examiner had a hard time determining the exact number of wounds she had sustained. Investigators used the Ring footage and Fatima's description of her ex to arrest Richard. Richard Montano was found guilty of first-degree murder and arson. He is scheduled to be sentenced on January 19, 2024 and is facing a life sentence. On June 15, 2023, 32-year-old Chad Doerman murdered his 3 young sons in front of his wife and stepdaughter in his Claremont County, Ohio home. The nightmare began when Chad returned home early from work and asked his wife Laura and his 3 sons to join him in the master bedroom for a nap. His stepdaughter Alexis was watching television in the family room. At some point, Chad got up and retrieved his rifle from a gun safe located next to his bed and shot 4-year-old Hunter twice. Laura popped up and began administering aid to Hunter and screamed for the other 2 boys to run. Alexis heard the shots and ran to the room to see what was happening, only to be met with a horrific scene. She echoed Laura's cries for her brothers to run. 7-year-old Clayton managed to make it to the woods, but his safety was short-lived. Chad caught up with him, shooting him several times. In the meantime, a terrified Alexis and the youngest boy, 3-year-old Chase, tried to find refuge on the road outside their home. But Chad was not done. He aimed the rifle at them and pulled the trigger, but the gun was empty. Seizing the opportunity, Alexis sprinted towards a nearby fire station for help. Chase saw Laura emerge from the house and he ran towards her as Chad was reloading his gun. Laura picked him up to protect him from Chad and a confrontation ensued. Chad bit Laura, attempting to wrestle Chase away from her, but when that didn't work, he shot her in the thumb, causing her to drop their son. Without hesitation, Chad then turned the gun on Chase, shooting him at point-blank range. Within just a few minutes, he had murdered all 3 of his children. As Laura tried to breathe life back into her kids, the police arrived, alerted by the frantic 911 calls from several neighbors. Without resistance, Chad confessed to the tragedy that had just unfolded. Chad Doerman was arrested and hit with 21 charges, which included 9 counts of aggravated murder, 8 counts of kidnapping, and 4 counts of felonious assault. During a recorded interview, he revealed that he had been plotting the murder since October 2022 and said that the weight of his thoughts kept him awake for 3 to 4 days before he killed his boys. Despite the confession and overwhelming evidence, he pleaded not guilty. Chad Doerman's trial date is set for July 8, 2024, and the prosecution will be seeking the death penalty.